Welcome to The People I Know, a philosophical podcast with and about the diverse people I have met over the years as a thinker, student, dancer, artist, and many other things. Today's guest is Rosie Price. She is a veteran mother, aerialist, performer, dog lover, wife, bodybuilder, and many other things. Welcome
Maybe
to the
I
show.
Thank you.
So first things first, please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then go into how we met.
Oh, well. Yes, my name is Rosie Price. I'm a former U.S. Navy veteran. I was in the Navy for 14 years and then got out of the Navy and then decided to go to college and went to school and became a clinical and social psychologist by trade. Then where I go where life takes me, so I decided to be a full-time mom. And right now, because of COVID, I am I'm a full-time mom right now. But what I'd like to do right now is I still am an entertainer. I used to entertain a lot. I used to do a lot of burlesque performances. So now I do a lot of TikTok and Instagram videos.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
You would love
Lover of
videos.
TikTok.
They're very funny. And one thing that people don't know about me, I battle PTSD very bad and major depression. So my outlet is making these videos. So even though I'm making a lot of people laugh, there's tears behind this, but that's the reason why for the videos. So you would really love the videos, even if you're feeling bad. I do random videos out of nowhere, and it would just it'll bring you to a happy place. So that's the point of for my videos, or with that. I know it's kind of weird. So yeah, that's the way I look at life. I look at life.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, your TikToks are random. I never know if it's going to be you dancing or dancing on a treadmill or with your daughter, or
Right.
I never know what's going to be going on.
You never know, and that's the joy. That's the fun of it. It's just like, okay, wait a minute, she's serious, and then I'll just pop out funny out of nowhere, and then I like being random because it's like you can't. Everybody when they expect the same thing, you're gonna get the same result. So I like to keep everybody on their toes. You know.
Yeah. So
really
we met a few. Gosh, I want to say it's been 4 years ago.
Yeah.
4 years ago at a pole con in Texas.
In Texas.
Very briefly. But what I remember is that we, not naming any names, not trying to have any drama today, but we were having a conversation about the pole community and how there was somebody at education in the pole community and how we can use our education for good and bad things in the pole community. And we each had some things to say as educated women. And we were wondering about a particularly educated woman very prominent in the pole community. And that's how we met, having that kind of conversation.
And I'm going to say that was not to go on that. Oh Lord, I'm glad I wasn't the only one to think it. The one thing about the pole community, it is diverse. And, women of multiple backgrounds. We all come together with one combined love for the sport of pole.
Right.
Never have I ever seen somebody use their education not to fulfill, you know what I mean, but to be more despondent. It's just more like I just didn't believe it. I don't believe that you should use your education for that type of gain. If you're educated, then you're supposed to educate others. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, yes, I'm educated, I'm this, I'm smart. You're not. So I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah. And that's something that, you put it just fine like that. Yeah. We're supposed to use our education to educate others, to help others along, and to get more education, to see where our own kind of empty spots are. In this particular person, at least at the time, and there's been some issues since then that have come up. It doesn't seem to be doing that.
It's just it's the way I see it. We all play a character. You're not on camera. You know what I'm saying? Like Instagram is just Instagram. Facebook is just that. Social media is just that. You are not that character, that personality. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when you get a taste of popularity, you don't know, you know what I mean? You don't know how to handle it. And I think, and it's like people like her, just, they only see green. They only see their greed. It's greed. And so you just take, they're just like snakes. It's the snakes. And then my thing is just like in this community, you can't believe, don't become the character. Yeah, that's a character. Hold on, sorry. Yes, that's who you are, but that's not who you are.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't become the character.
Yeah. We're going to separate.
And just to kind of like couch this, because this is a very interesting way to start. This is every episode is this is a bit different because everybody I know is quite different. And so just to kind of like couch this and put this into perspective, I am friends with another very educated pole polar, and she is using her education. She is using her PhD to help other people in the pole community in the area that she wants to. She's using, psychology in order to help polars psychologically. Like she's building this whole world around it. And it's like, okay, that's what we want to see. Not just her using her PhD as like, this is the hat that I have on, but instead she's saying, okay, this is what this hat does.
Exactly. Like I can say I have degrees. We're like, okay, so what do your degree do? Well, one, you know what I mean? It's like, have I used it? No. You know what I mean? But it's just more like it's saying I'm smart, but I can't tell you why I'm smart or how I'm smart. You know what I mean? And people like that, I don't know. They believe in that. They believe in that la la land, that fairy tale. Yeah. So
moving on, more about you. So that's how we started following you, and so we follow each other online, and haven't seen each other since. Just kind of watched each other over the years. And I invited you onto this season, this chapter of the show, because I somehow recalled you stating that you were mixed, and that was important in your life. Of course, seeing your family, since you are, somewhat public about your family and some of the experiences in your life, seeing your family, I'm like, oh, there are things that your family encounters that perhaps I haven't, or I won't because I'm fully Black, whatever that is. And so
it's very hard being mixed. It is. It sucks.
So let's start with what kind of mixed are you, and why does it matter?
Okay, I'm a mix of Arabian. My mother is Arabian, white and Native American. My father is Native American, Puerto Rican, and Black. I'm basically Black. To my knowledge, like the hair, nappy hair. Okay, I got the straight up naps hair. All right. And then
that's a determining factor right there.
Right? It was a determined, like, girl, no. Yeah. Okay, so, but the crazy thing is, I was brought up, by my mother being Arab, I knew Arab, growing up. It was just spoken in my home, on my mom's side. My dad, even though he's Spanish, he didn't speak Spanish to us, so we were never taught, Spanish. So like growing up, it's like my whole life I've been asked ever since I could remember, what is your race?
Mm.
And I've always said, I'm Black. And they'll look at me, and then they'll look at my mom, and they'll look at my father and my brothers. No, girl, you know. Then it was like my grandmother, she was Italian. My mother's mother, she was Italian, and she had long Black hair. So it never dawned on me about my race, you know. And then I was born in Chicago, born and raised. So in Chicago, it's so culturally diverse and mixed. Your race never came up. It did, but it didn't. Against in the Black community, for me, because I didn't look Black enough for them. You know, I was put to the side because I wasn't Black enough. And then my first name, government name, is Heidi, so that made it worse. You know, so that made it was very interesting. And then my father is he was in the Army, so I traveled all over the world when I was growing up, and I've learned different languages and different cultures growing up. So being very culturally aware, and then to not feel that you belong to anybody. That's where, you know, that's how it's always been that way, you know, for me. But what I try to instill in my family, because my husband, you know, he's Black, I think, yeah. And then it was like when I had my children, they came out little white babies. I was like, oh God, here we go.
Oh gosh.
I wanted to stop my children. I didn't want my children to have to go through what I went through. So I taught them about what their race was, about, you know, how different we are. And then I have cousins. This is going to blow your mind. I have cousins who are Italian, German. I have some that are Mexican, some that are Filipino, some are Korean. I have an aunt that's Filipino and North Korean mixed, and another one is Vietnamese, another one is all over.
It's everyone.
Yes. So you get us all together. Nobody. We're just like, okay. So you look at my whole family, and then it's like, yeah, are you Black? Well.
Yeah.
So like, Mama, I'm a person of color. Then that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for clearing that up for some of us.
If it's clear, if it's not clear, I do apologize. Look, it's
nothing, dude. That is you, and that is your experience.
That's how it's always been, and it's just been And it's like, you look at pictures of my family, you can really just it's a story. A lot of people are intrigued when they meet us all.
Yeah. So have you found areas in life where it's easier or less challenging to be mixed? So like comparing like military service to like being in school to being in like aerial burlesque communities.
It was less challenging when I lived in Hawaii.
Okay.
Because they thought I was Hawaiian. So I don't look Black, I don't look white, I look different. And so I kind of, in some ways, I play off of that wherever I am. In the military, they cast me to the side in all communities. They don't know where to put me. In military, it was like that. But the less I felt any indifference, that no race at all was in Hawaii, hands down. It was only until I moved to Texas, really, that my race came up again. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when does it in your life now, or in your family or professionally, when does being mixed not matter? Or or maybe
I don't think it's ever going to be I don't know. It's really funny. It's really issue. If you haven't noticed, there's a lot of people who are mixed and light skinned. They're the most angriest, and they're always out there on the forefront. If you haven't noticed. And so I always took it as hell. I was like, maybe we light skinned because we angry because we don't know where we belong. You know? So if you ever notice, like, you know, a lot of them are light, you know, there aren't a lot of fair skin. And I don't know, it's just, it's so, everything is so intertwined. Just like I found it in the burlesque community. I'm seeing a lot, everything is so whitewashed. And it feels like they're still doing the brown bag testing. You know what I'm saying? That is still that. And then I'm noticing you got these burlesque communities, and you have, or these these troops, and you have a token Black girl, but she's not just a Black girl. She's black. If you haven't noticed, you got all Black girls, but she's the blackest. And I've noticed that it's always in these troops. Well, I've noticed that in Houston.
Okay.
I had, you know.
Do you think that's for them, arguably, to have token, or because they're not, these troops aren't seeing, you know, that if you invite more of other kinds of brown people, then you're going to have other kinds of performances, and maybe they're just not ready for that? Or
I think it's that. I think it's conservative. It's conservative entertainment. So I've noticed, like, you can't have an all Black troupe because somebody's bound to get ratchet. You know what I mean? In their eyes.
Yeah.
Let's be 100. Somebody's bound to get. Come on now. You can't have a burlesque performer without somebody thinking, "Oh my God, let me throw some money." You know what I mean? And making it ratchet. And you have others who welcome diversity, but I still think it's the old days are still, like, the baby boomers. Are those people who were born in the 50s? But like those
Sounds
times,
about right, yeah.
Before it was freedom, before we were free, before 1965, let's be real, before 1960, for Voting Rights Act, I don't think, you know, we weren't free. So I think it was so segregated. It was still segregated. And I think it's 20 something years later, 50, 60 years later, it's still that way. We're still dealing with that racial thing. I don't think it'll ever go away, personally. Yeah. So
bringing in the critical thinking piece, and I want to stay on this because you had said that you have a lot to say about this. So for anybody who wants to argue or wants to claim that, you know, well, that was 50, 60 plus years ago, 70 years ago now, you know, that we're talking about, a very easy way to connect it to now is to make it very clear that, you know, those are our parents. Those are people's parents who raised them to think certain ways. And then we are dealing with those people who were raised. So oftentimes it's like, you know, people just don't want to think about this kind of stuff and just think that it's in the past. But the past comes to present.
Always.
In a lot of different ways, and that is one very clear way. So my next question for you is, as being the mother, I just want to compliment you first. When I have seen some clips of your daughter, especially like speaking, like you've raised some good kids. You know, she's clearly she has her personality. She's sure of herself, and she's growing into herself in a very interesting way. Like from outside perspective, I should like, you go, girl. You're gonna ruffle some feathers. You are ruffling feathers, and you're doing it. I don't want to say appropriately, but in ways that, you know, are clear and clearly there's foundation to it. And so as a mixed woman, as someone in a mixed relationship, as a mother, how do you feel that critical thinking or thinking critically is important in those arenas?
It's what makes the relationship, it's what makes the foundation. You know what I mean? Critical you have to, in every aspect, is what I always tell my daughter, I'm not here to draw her path. I'm just here to push her along and to be there just in case she gets off. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, your life is your decision. That's what it is. I was like, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
telling you what I did, you know? Because I told her, because the one thing my great grandmother always said, and I live with 5 generations of women. So like, I still have that old school philosophy, and it carried down to her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just more like, it doesn't matter, times may change, but the play always stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to know how to play, how to make your moves without, without making too many mistakes. You're gonna have some mishaps. I mean, that's what life is. But you got to know how to really think about your actions. For everything that's done in the dark always comes to light. So, I always let her know that. I was like, so it doesn't matter. I was like, if you ever want to mess up, I'm telling you, you're going to mess up. You're going to make a mistake, but learn from it. So I like to instill definitely the past, because shoot, it was stuff that happened in the past that if I had known now what I knew then, I wouldn't have made the moves, that I made. And I wouldn't have, well, I have regret, but I wouldn't have the strength that I have now. So you got to take from the past. You can't live in it.
You can't live in the past. Is a recurring lesson. So hard.
Like everybody is trying to forget about 2020. We are really going to forget this year at all. We're just
oh God. No. So then you said that you don't think, just to paraphrase, you don't think that certain types of racism are ever going to
go
pass away? Or
I think that's a very I think some will go away, but some will generate new hate. You know what I mean? A different form of hate. Because think about it, there's racism against other races. Like, crazy. My grandmother didn't like Black people. But she married a Black. Married a Black guy. We were like, what? Oh, how did I go? But she had said when she was coming up, and this is true, what happened with my great grandfather, where he was a Klansman that was like white superiority. But what happened was, like, after the Juneteenth and gentrification, what they did was, when they went to sharecropping to get food in people's homes, they married their slaves, basically, to make them quote unquote legal. So then they had the children, and the children were still slaves, which still made it the plantation. That's old racism. That's a different type of racism that they had back in the day. What is going to be happening now, we're going to have more American versus Chinese people, you know what I mean? Because that type of racism is happening now.
Yeah.
We already had, because of 9/11, we had everybody versus the Arabs, you know what I mean? And if somebody is a Middle Eastern, automatically they're, they're jihad or whatever the case may be. And then you have, we're going to have, to me, this is like a gang warfare. You got Republicans versus Democrats, and I'm like, this is people, it's too much. There's racism all over. And for one to go away, for another to exist, that is going to happen, but it's going to be a different form. And I think it's just, eventually, I don't know if it's going to be in our lifetime that it'll be done, because at this point, there is no pure race, really.
Right. So then one last kind of question. Well, I don't know if it's the last one, but because I'm not a parent, and so when I am able to converse with my parent friends, I have a lot of questions about their experiences with their children. And so since, this is about philosophy and critical thinking, this is about theorizing and talking about the big questions, how, I guess just to put it plainly, how do you, or maybe you do, how do you not teach your children to just like have just dread about the future? So, we're talking about racism. This probably isn't going to be solved in our generation.
All right.
But then your kids are coming along. They're the next generation. So have you instilled in them, this situation is fucked and it's going to be fucked on your watch as well? Like, I'm assuming that that's not how
I told them, I said,
how it's
you know
going.
what? I told him, I was like, I told my youngest son, he's 13, and I was like, oh my God, in 10 years, you're going to look back at this and be like, what the hell happened? I was like, everything goes by. I don't know. We don't know. Like, am I teaching my kids dread? No. It's just more like you got to live your life by your own means. You can't kind of like, get them ready for bad stuff because we don't know what's going to happen. So I can't prepare for something bad because it's like, I don't want to be in that space, and I wouldn't want my children to be in that space, because we've already experienced loss, heartache, dread, homelessness, what I'm saying? They've already experienced so much in their lifetime now. Why would I, even go for, continue on that type of message?
Yeah.
I have to just more like, man, it will be better for you. Trust me, it will be better. Life was good at one point,
And I think that's actually kind of speaks to an inverse way, kind of an opposite way of asking this, is like, how do you teach your kids like hope, considering things that have happened in their lifetime?
You have to teach about hope, because without hope, there's nothing. You have to have hope. Without hope, without, love and positivity, there's always a yin to the yang. There's always going to be that way. And no matter how, we're never going to be in peace and harmony, at once, but we won't, because somebody does not want that. Somebody's always going to want the opposite. Never fails. So it's just like, you got to try to be a positive influence when all they see is destruction and materialistic. There are no mentors like, and you know what I mean, who speak to our generation. If you haven't noticed, like every generation, there's somebody who speaks for us. For their generation, there's nothing. There's nobody in their age group that is, that's young, that's thinking about the future. These kids are not thinking about future. They're thinking about Birkin bags and, how to get Instagram famous and, you know what I mean? And it's like, you see where they're focusing. Not, right now.
Or even, the young woman, Greta Thunberg. She's climate activist. She's
Greta, yeah.
Swedish. So what? She's I think 13 or something. And so even we see someone like her who is taking a very hard stance, speaking out for something that she and many people believe in, and she, as a young adult, is attacked by adults. So again, as an outsider, it doesn't seem like, or it can feel like, even if I was someone that was like her in her peer group, if I saw that and I saw someone who was like speaking up for like fundamentally what is right, like we're just trying to keep our species alive, and the adults are saying hell no, and they're calling her names, I might not want to try and believe. I'd want the Birkin bags. I say screw that. She can't get anywhere with it.
You know what? But
it's
just more like, people, they lash out because they don't understand. And it's like I've been seeing this lately. It's like when they don't understand something, so they'll lash out at you. And because they don't understand, they don't know how to comprehend. Like, how are you thinking about the other people? No, you got to think about, you know what I mean? People don't like change. A lot of people don't like they like to be complacent, you know? Forward thinking is always going to be taboo. Just like what was it? Let's put it this way, like Tupac, when he talks about religion, that's forward thinking. And what he was saying, like, why do I have to go to a bigger house? Why is Lakewood Church so huge in Houston? Why does it have to have 5,000 people? Why do I have to go to church? You know, and 5,000, you know what I mean? And then give you money, and I'm struggling, but you want me to give to the church? No. You see what I'm saying? Everything is becoming more greed, if anything. So like, when you have forward thinking, people are afraid, you know, so they're gonna lash out or anything. I would, if anything, if any of my children decided to sit there and speak up for what they believe in, and hey, I would be right for them. They want to have an adult come and attack them, like what they got to deal with a crazy mama, you know. That's what I would say. Of course, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I can match them, but I mean, somebody like that, I'm like, that you can't be afraid to fail. You can't be afraid to speak out. Like, we have our voice. We have more than one way of telling our story. The thing is, who wants to do it? Everybody's afraid of doing it. They're afraid of failing. Well, how do you know if you're going to fail if you don't try? You know, because the thing is, you know what? I've noticed, okay, in the pole community, I've noticed that there aren't too many voices. It's either, what I'm noticing now is all the stripper thing.
So sex workers being, we mentioned this. I was talking with a pole studio owner in a previous conversation. And so for folks who don't know, folks who are not familiar, in particular, updates to terms of service with Instagram may or may not, well, actually are already really hindering sex workers on the platform. So even if people aren't selling sex explicitly, anything that Instagram thinks is related to sex, which could be up to and including me doing what we do on pole, which is not always sexual, that could be banned. And so people who make incomes using the platform, they are seeing their incomes being impacted, stuff like that. There's a lot of talk, a lot of awareness being raised about that right now. And there's a lot of issues with that. So yes, that is something in the pole community that is, that people are talking about. But there's a lot of things that don't get spoken about. People don't talk.
In the folk community, and that's what I would like to have a podcast to actually, like, somebody, let's just speak on it. There aren't too many of us. Well, there are, but too many prominent, people who really are in the community, who are about it. As far as the sex workers and Instagram, I'm so on the fence about that whole thing.
Like using Instagram for...
I would just, for me, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but if I was a sex worker, and hey, this is no hater shade to anybody, because my hat's off. My hat's truly off to anybody to do that. I'll just put that disclaimer there now, before I say it. But it's just more like, if I really want to get myself put out there, I wouldn't necessarily use just Instagram. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, Instagram, it would hinder my audience anyway. You know what I mean? In my opinion. I was even looking at what I'm starting to do now. I'm into dog grooming and dog therapy, because I love my dogs. So I've been kind of kind of changing my whole thing to get into more animals, you know, and more life with animals and how they're good for therapy. But I was crazy thing is like I'm seeing how the audience that I want to project, who I want to go after, you know what I mean, probably wouldn't understand to see me in a thong or you know what I mean, or just to see my butt crack, or there's some pole dancers I think that they went too far with it, and hence the reason why the explicit thing, because a lot of them I thought I was a gynecologist. You know what I'm saying?
There's some extreme
there was like I said
happening.
In a way there was like y'all were getting a little bit too carried away. So I understand from Instagram, or you know what I mean, like, hey, you're getting a little too out there, but if you're gonna sell it, why not do your OnlyFans? What's the problem with, you know, with that?
Yeah, and I know, so to use like a few different examples, just as speaking for, because this is what we're, you know, chatting about. There's one friend who she basically is poster for what is happening for being kind of a visual sex object these days. Big boobs, big ass, you know, hourglass,
all that
kind of figure. And so that's what her page is, looking like that, being in these poses, looking like that. Have another friend who is using Instagram. Again, she has her PhD, she's educating women, had her following on Instagram, went on to OnlyFans, and now she's using both. And then another friend who I interviewed for one of these episodes, who is a dominatrix. So these three people, and she has her OnlyFans, she has her website, she has her other websites as well for those services. So three different kinds of sex work, three different kinds of use, and they've each found different kinds of posts being taken down or flagged or whatever, or their accounts being taken down. You know, yes, there's been some more explicit posts from, you know, maybe my dominatrix friend, she had one, or yes, you know, my contortion you know, poster figure friend, she has her posts where she is spread wide open and there's a G-string and that's it. Whereas the PhD friend, she is talking about sexual liberation, but it's not a provocative actual visual. So, you know, these different kinds of uses of the social media platform, but Instagram as a company is saying no. So it's like, I see the like, okay, now you might have gone a little too far. Like, I don't want to be your guy now. But then I also see how, you know, another friend is like, this is helping her business. She didn't start on OnlyFans, and so she is gathering, you know, the women who are sitting at home scrolling through, you know, the dog stuff on Instagram, and they're like, okay, well, after the kids go to bed, like, I need to check in to like get in touch with myself, and I only want to do that I don't want to go on OnlyFans, you know. So it's like, I see these different uses, and that's where it's like,
so many, that's what I'm saying, there's so many different avenues for it.
Yeah.
My thing is, it's the ones who it's probably not the ones who are already established and ones who, you know, who never did anything of that nature, but it's the ones who got downright ratchet with it. You know what I mean? So I think it's like one bad apple just mess it up for every apple. It's like, we'll put all y'all in the category, we ain't even gonna think about it, you know, and put it to the side. And that's I think that's what happened with Instagram. And then and I understand everybody's fighting back, but like, I think at this point, a lot of people are just saying like goodbye to Instagram and Facebook. I think it's too much. And so I'm noticing a lot more activity happening on Twitter. But people don't understand Twitter. But then again, Twitter, I've noticed, is so XXX rated.
Oh yeah?
Yes. There's
I do not use my Twitter.
I only go on there just to laugh at you know, political commenters. Like I love Leslie Jones. I love her and Rachel Maddow. I'm sorry, I love that.
Yeah, my mother's a huge fan of Rachel Maddow.
Oh, Rachel Maddow, she just kills it. She kills it for me every time. Oh, she won't cuss her out. But like I said, I go in there for that. But I'm noticing, yeah, they're getting more. I get it. Hey, you make money. This is the thing. People who judge people for making money having sex, you know what I mean, should not be. Because it's like you sitting there having sex for just to say for him to call you the next day, or you know what I mean? and you busting it open behind closed doors, you know. Like we don't know what Michelle Obama do, you know.
Right. Yeah. No, it's the public judgment that's
exactly.
And that's what canceled my show. No, but we don't know. And that honestly is a philosophical concept. Like we don't know the things that we don't know. And there's a lot of folks who don't like that, who want to try and know as much as possible, and that isn't always helpful. I mean, whether we're talking about, quantum physics or somebody having sex, like there's just things that we can't understand everything about it. We're not meant to, we're not made to. So
I think
if harm isn't
if people were made to shush, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like we can't, right? Oh, don't talk about your nipples. Like don't talk about wearing a bra. You know what I mean? You can't talk about that. You can't talk about like how you can't talk about your vagina because God knows, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh wait, we all like we go through it. But we can't talk about it. So like I said, I think it's a hush. It's a hush world. What I'm noticing is very. It's so stupid. It's so childish. I just feel like we're going back to the 80s, where things were taboo.
Yeah, that is, it's a really strange kind of shift. And I don't know how broad or how like impactful it actually is, but some of the opinions that are coming out, some of those judgments that are coming out, it's like, wait, are we gonna like have a bulldozer outside and like roll over some CDs in the middle of the street? Like, is that what we're going back to?
I'm like, wait, it's so funny. They were talking, somebody was saying something about how performers, they're getting raunchy on stage nowadays. I purposely pulled up a clip of Prince, remember in Purple Rain? It was a scene where the guitar solo, where he's playing the guitar and when he gets down and licking the string, right?
Yeah.
So this older person is talking to me and like, oh no, we never did none of that. I said, well, how old are you? So I'm like, you about Prince's age. Do you remember this particular moment? And I made them look at it and they couldn't say nothing. I was like, now that was in the crazy thing, that was not excluded from that film. And like, how does that nobody ever talked about that moment? I'm like, do you not realize that? And the way he grabbed her, like he was simulating head on stage, on film. But let us do it now.
So what do you think, what are some other topics regarding the pole community? What do you think are some other topics that need to be given more attention? Yeah, addressed.
I will have to say okay, this might touch a nerve with some people, but I would have to say I'm over the certifications. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, again, I know several studio owners. And as an educated person, I love me some objectivity, some categorizations. Yes. I love it. I feel it. I like it. However,
it got to the point. I've been in pole for about 10, 11 years. About 10. No, about 10 years. Oh, it's about 10 years. But really active lately. When I first got in, remember it was just X-Pole. That was the only certification. Oh, you got to be certified. You got to, because I remember going to the studio and then it was like, oh, you got to be certified. Okay, so what happens if I get certified? Well, you're just going to be a certified instructor. So I was like, oh, okay. So I'm thinking a door is going to open, right? So I was like, let me research some more. So then I kept seeing people getting certified. Then it was the elevator certification. Because Expo went from $500 to $5,000. Then there's the elevated was $3,000. And I'm like, so what are you getting from the certification? Call me frugal. But I was just more like, if I'm going to give you my money and spend my money, I want to know what I'm doing it for. For me, that I would have gotten, if I would have to get any certification, it probably would have been elevated because in my opinion, that was like kind of everything what I was looking for, as far as understanding the physical aspect and artistic aspect, and understanding people, they really put their foot in that one. But all of a sudden you got, let's see, how to be a chair certification. It was the chair certification is the roller.
There's a couple of twerking ones out there I've seen.
The twerking. Now I'm saying my age, but we used to call it booty pop. Like pop that booty.
Yeah.
Hey,
Right.
that's what it is.
Yeah, it is the certification aspect of it. I mean, I can't twerk on purpose. I am not a twerker. I could barely pop my booty when I first was allowed to. But so I could probably use a twerking certification, but it is weird that like, wait, why would certified twerk? What does this mean?
It made, to me, it just not, I mean, hey, I'm not hating at all on anybody's business aspirations, a part of it, but it's just like, you need to have there has to be a purpose. Because
and that's,
other than, because outside of the pole community, if I was to go to a gym and be like, look, I'm certified to twerk, they still are looking at the pole community as taboo. They're like, oh my God, I always wanted to do pole. It's fun.
Right.
That's what I found out. Like if I say, I'm like, yes, I do pole fitness. Oh, I heard that's very sexy, Jennifer Lopez. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But if I sit there and say, well, I'm a certified instructor, they're like, they do that?
So there's definite parallels to like academia where like, okay, I have a few friends who stated very clearly, it's like they didn't want to either complete their PhD, go on to PhD, or even go past their bachelor's because they didn't see the point. They could do some studies, they could read books on their own, they could talk to their really smart friends and not get just that title, get that piece of paper that said that they spent a lot of money and a lot of time in some building, in a specific building. They just don't see the point. And with pole, with like the teaching certifications, it's my personal opinion is that like I see the use if you're learning anatomy, if you're learning like the physics of pole, if you're learning, a certain set or certain levels of pole moves, absolutely. But it comes along as a problem when there's people who have only been polling in the pole world for like 6 months, and they do these certifications, and then they think that they are then ready to teach. And this is the case whether we're talking about, an academic teacher or a poles teacher. It's like that experience is not there.
That's what's the crazy. That's what I'm not.
The clinical part is not there.
I have a friend, Ariel Tony. I don't know if you know.
Yeah. I actually, I know because I roomed with her in Texas.
Yes. So me and Tony, we talk every day. And we always talk about this, yes. So I'll definitely, I told her I was doing a podcast with you and she was like, oh, okay. But it was funny. I told her, but we were just talking about this. I said, how was it that, like, there's a studio out here I was going to go to. And it was funny because I was just like, I'm going to take a beginner class. And Tony was just like, really? Like, you can't, I'm like, no. Because the thing is, I want somebody, she's certified, I want them to teach me. If you can teach me, And I haven't been in a studio in years. You can teach. It doesn't matter how good I am. If you're a certified instructor, you can teach me. I went there. She was either I made her feel intimidated because I wasn't acting like I was new. I don't know. I just stood there. I was just like, all right, hey, what's the warm up? What's this? The whole time, I'm like, what the hell? And she's like, well, this is how I was taught. And all the time, there was no technique. There was no nothing. And then I had asked her, I said, well, how long have you been teaching? She's like, oh, about 3-4 months. And you're doing all these tricks? I'm like, maybe it's just me, but I remember it took us months to even figure it out. To even, to do it correctly. I'm like, because if you get, this is the thing, these people are getting these certifications because, and I get it, you need to get your coin, but people are getting certified and somebody's gonna get hurt.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to, and literally and figuratively. That's our concern. People who have been in the pole community long enough, we've seen inexperienced or instructors come up who don't have enough experience to know what unsafe things look like. There's beginner classes. You want to teach a few spins. You maybe want to teach like one invert, or a couple of different kinds of climbs. Okay. But once we start talking about a lot of these tricks that people go into pole classes to learn because they've seen them online, because their pole idol has done them, that requires a lot more study, a lot more experience, a lot more of other things to just make sure that people don't break bones, tear tendons and muscles, and don't land on their heads and die. People don't knock poles down. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong.
And they don't see that. And the thing is, they see what they see the final video. They don't know that it takes, for some of these videos that we do, let's be honest, it takes 2 or 3 takes. Because we will see something, oh, hell, my foot was wrong. Oh, what was that face?
Right.
What was this?
Right.
And we go back and we do it again. And then you do the good try. Me, I do at least 2 takes and I'm like, hey, the best out of 3. All right, we good.
Yeah.
Because I ain't gonna do that again,
Right.
And they don't see that. And people don't understand. It's like, look, the reason why we're so strong enough that we can do these moves, we actually practice the basic stuff. We did the and I'm like, there are days, like I even told this one girl, I'm like, there are days I don't even see a pole. I don't want to see a pole. And then if I get on a pole, whatever, I'm like, oh damn, I build my strength up again. I'm like, and then the older you get, the warm-ups get longer. But these, I'm gonna say, the new generation of polers, they are just, everybody wants that fame. They want that next, who's the next pole star thing.
Yeah, there's definitely changes that are happening that I don't fully understand. And, I'm having this same conversation with some other people in the community where it's just like, I don't know what these younger folks are coming up doing. I mean, you can do some cool things, but
right. And I'm sitting back like, you know what? I'm okay with doing my little fireman spin. Yeah. I'm okay with doing that one move. And I'm okay with doing the basic stuff. I am so okay with it. I used to want to do all this stuff, but it's like, remember, you get, oh my God, remember, if you sprain your pinky, it's like your whole hand is done.
Right. Oh, I've done that. Yeah. Like my finger. I didn't realize I used my finger so much. I can't do this. I can't.
You can't, right? Look, I didn't sprain my hip flexor. I didn't torn my rotator cuffs. It got to the point where I was like doing this. No. And I'm like, it's not that serious now. I'm happy I can still get up there and look decent. I'm like, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But like, I think the generation, this generation with these certifications, these people in a rush to get certified and rush to become an instructor. And then I'm over I'm so proud of my students. I'm overhearing that. I'm really overhearing it. And the only reason why is just more like, that's their journey. You don't need to speak on their journey. In my opinion, certain people do not need to speak on other people's journey. And that's just my thoughts, you know, because it's like you see somebody struggling. And I noticed there's a lot of new people who, you know, they're posting their videos, and I don't see not one, it was rarely I see any few post celebs who comment on their stuff. You know? So I think there's more, there's that disconnect, and that's the reason why a lot of new people think it's okay that they can get up there and become an instructor or go to these things, but they don't understand. You know?
Yeah, I just wanted to say two things. One, as an instructor who does repost my students only when, you know, if they tag me in something, then they're okay with
that's what I'm meaning. Not necessarily in a bad way. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Take it that way.
No. Because, you know, part of it, I am a proud instructor, but also, you know, part of it is a business aspect of, some people are clueless about what happens in pole class. And so, you know, in order to try and invite more people or just to, you know, give you an idea of like, this is what you'll learn at this level. And this isn't just me doing it because y'all think that everything is easy to me and you don't believe me. And that's fine. This is an actual student doing it. So it's like, that's why I do it. I can't speak about anybody else.
Like I say, some people just, when I say they go to like, girl,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And you could tell that person wasn't, I've seen one where the girl felt, I don't even know how, I could tell she did not feel right being at, you know, at that moment. It was not a right moment. And even though the girl's trying to encourage her, girl, you got it. She still was just like, you know, like.
Yeah, because there are people who like, okay, let me video you doing it instead of the student being like, okay, I'm going to get this video of me doing this thing. And then I'm going to post it. Yeah, those are two different things.
Exactly. Those are the ones that I'm sitting there like, girl, no.
Yeah.
And if you see that person doing it wrong, don't just be like, yeah, girl, no.
Right.
Correct them now so that they know. I mean, I get it, but I mean, you know.
So the second thing I was going to say, because I want to transition just to my final official question, is that, you know, I'm in a similar boat as you, that, you know, I'm getting older. I've only been polling for about 7 years, but I've been dancing my whole life. I've been dancing for 30 years. So, you know, this body, this body has always been moving.
Okay.
But what I'm finding, especially with pole, is that when I do get back to the pole, when I'm in the studio, when I'm doing my own practice, I want to move in different ways. I get a different level, a different type of satisfaction out of my pole practice, out of my pole training. Like I don't want to necessarily do all the big fancy tricks. I want to do something else. And so, you know, this final question is about existential dilemmas. And there was, for me personally, you know, this moment a couple of years ago or in the last year and a half where I was just like, fuck, I can't keep up with all these people in pole. Like, who am I? I was trying to be pole famous, and now like I'm not on that path. So who am I gonna be in the pole community? And it turned out to be like, I don't care. I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Girl, you know what? We all got to that point.
So yeah, how the main question is what is your relationship with existential dilemmas? And you can apply that to pole or anything else. Just how do you deal with these big questions of what is my purpose? Who am I now?
You know, I've been asking myself that lately, which is kind of crazy because I was just looking at, I like to reflect every now and then. And sometimes it hurts to reflect in the past, but because of that past, you know, it makes you what you are. I would say I make a lot of mistakes. Yeah, I did. You know, I did. But my purpose, I wanted that in the pole famous, you know, I wanted to be a performer. I wanted to be out there.
Right.
But then I realized you're just as famous as your last video. You know what I mean? And then it's really hard. It's not easy for anybody. And then it was just like, okay, well, maybe I want to be an instructor. And then I became an instructor. And then I realized I didn't want to be an instructor because people did not have the same discipline or love for pole as I did. So it's hard to teach pole conditioning to people who just want to pole every now and then. When
Lord, yes.
I want to wake up, I got 2 poles in my house. That hurt. That was a wake up call for me. And I saw that people didn't have the same discipline. So I just said, you know what? I wanted to, like, let me just find my purpose, which is basically comedy, funny. And then I could still pole and I can still be me. You know what I mean? Which is basically, I know I'm entertaining, it's very entertaining, but if that's my purpose, then let that be it. Teachers of going to a studio, being a part of the, of going, workshops or whatever, there's no purpose in that anymore. Because think about it, back when we were really into it, it was just like, oh, I gotta go to Marlo's workshop. I have to do her workshop. It's so great. You go to the workshop and then you're there and then she's teaching you, the few routines that she has on her little thing, and you're learning it. And you're like, oh yes. And then what? Okay, so you know it. Are you gonna compete? Well, damn, okay, that means I gotta go to PSO. Okay, that means I gotta save up money for it. Got expensive. For me, it got too expensive. And it was just like, I'm not gonna put forth all this money and time and blood and sweat and tears to get nothing out of it. And it was just, they were just like, oh no, you get personal satisfaction. I could get that shit at home.
Which is important to bring up. I mean, if you can't get that shit at home, then all right, look elsewhere, but only for a little bit, because it really comes from within. But if you are trying to get some satisfaction,
you got to. I mean, my thing is it's just like I always say, there's proof that I have videos and pictures of shit that I did. So when I'm old and wrinkly and can't move, I'm gonna look back, that bitch. Proof. I got videos of what I did. So that's what I have. I can't speak for nobody else. If you got to travel across the world, hey, live your life the best you can. If you can afford to still travel and still be in this business years later, I commend anybody. Because the thing is, right now, we don't know what's going on. And then you have people that, I invested, I got 3 poles. Bitch, I'm going to be pulling on them things until, look, it's rusty, until I get...
Got the outdoor pole, got the 2 indoor poles.
Okay, look. I got that outdoor pole. I remember I wanted to perform for this. It was this thing I auditioned for. And they were like, well, you got your pole. They try to act like I needed their stuff. I'm like, oh no, you don't understand. I can perform anywhere. I took that pole and put it outside, and I did a free show for some people. I don't care. I'm like, sure, I paid $1,000 for that damn thing.
Personal satisfaction, folks. Personal satisfaction.
That's if I got anything out of all these years, you could truly say you got proof that you did some amazing things. You met some people from different walks of life. You were able to show your talent in other ways. You made a mark. And then, and it's like, I think about it now, it's like, I wonder, it's like, what my legacy is going to be. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm making my legacy now.
Absolutely.
They're not thinking that. I don't think a lot of people are thinking that. They're too busy worrying about materialistic and what they're going to buy and how they're going to survive. But it's like, make your legacy now. You know what I mean? Because it's like, think about it. how we look back on the 1920s and the 30s and 40s, we think about how life was back then.
Mm-hmm.
We have the opportunity to record ours. Back in the past, they weren't able to do that.
Yeah.
So like I said, like I think what's going to happen with the pole community, I think everybody's just who knows. Here's one thing I would like to happen, but I'm waiting on somebody to do it.
You know, want to say it out loud? Or
yeah, I would love to see. Okay, I would love to see a Black production.
Mm.
So you have, if you haven't noticed, every time you turn around, they have little things like the Pole Show LA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's kind of like that. But I'm like, man, why can't we have a Black, actually, you know, a Black group of girls or different performers? And actually, what they should be doing now is getting everybody, because ain't nobody doing nothing. So why not put on a show for donation? You know what I mean? I would love for somebody to do that. I'm like,
yeah. There's definitely been some virtual shows, and I've caught a few kind of different ways of doing them, as far as like people doing them in their studios or like on their outdoor whatever. So like, okay, that's creative, but I think you're right. You know, we haven't really seen large scale productions like Pole Show LA that are not LA.
We can do it if we really wanted to. And it's like, I was even telling a lot of girls, I'm like, the main reason why I've always supported Vertical Joe's is because I remember they had their own big old thing and she would have these shows. So I'm like, why isn't anybody putting their brains together, be like, look, let's do it. But I understand now, you know, the way things are acting is like every man for himself.
Yeah, basically that's about how it feels.
But that's what I was like, somebody, I don't know who could do it, you know what I mean, but somebody, because I'm like, if y'all want to get the word out or whatever, okay, you want to talk about sex workers, you want to say that they have a voice, common sense would tell you, let's get everybody together and let's put on a show. You know what I mean? To a degree, you got a lot of people who have nothing else to do. You have a lot of people who are videographers who would love to jump on board. But of course, I understand people got to get money. You got to get paid, but guess what? You can get paid in other means. This might open the door for you. You know, but I'm just trying to wonder why everybody is so, it's all about me now. You know,
we save that for the next conversation. Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy, for your honesty, for your opinions, for your experience.
Which is very funny. And I'll let you know when I do start my podcast, because I think, I probably will. Because I think it's time for me to ruffle a few feathers. Anyway.
Hey, if you feel like that's what you need to do, then do it. It's free to do.
Right? It's free of charge. And then like I said, people are gonna sit there, my crazy outtake on life. So it'll just definitely, it'll be very entertaining.